welcome back to the introduction to the Gospel according to Luke. Just by way of reminder, this is not meant to be a verse-by-verse teaching on Luke. Rather, I am trying to show you some of the great themes in the book of Luke. Today, we're in chapter 2, which is arguably the most famous chapter in all of the Bible. Almost everybody knows it. We read it at Christmas time. But it's there for a purpose. I ask people, why in the world does Luke include this story about the birth of Jesus when the other Gospels don't? That's a great question. And it takes me back to the whole idea of Luke being heavily influenced by Greek thinking and preparing a biography in the Greek fashion. And so we need to remember that Luke is putting together the stories of Jesus' life that make a point, a theological truth. And so, as we look at this chapter, it is so famous, you've heard it, but it bears repeating. In verse 1, it says, "In those days, a decree went out from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be registered." Now, the first thing I want you to think about here is, yes, that's a fact, but it also sets the stage for this idea in Luke of kingdoms in conflict. King Jesus versus the kings of this world. So that is very important, and it sets the stage for Yahweh versus Caesar. And so just let that marinate in your mind as we think about this. Now, the next thing I would draw to your attention is that the story tells us that an angel, if we go down into, say, verse 9, it says, "An angel of the Lord shone around them," speaking to the shepherds. You know this. Every king worth his salt has heralds. But what kind of king has angels as heralds? That is a huge question. It sets the stage for this question of what kind of king is Jesus? What kind of kingdom does he bring that, unlike the earthly kings who have their men walking out with trumpets announcing the birth of the heir, no, Yahweh the Father sends his angels to make that announcement. Very important. So, what does the angel say? He says, "I bring you good news of great joy." Now just stop right there. Remember, good news was used of Caesar all the time. When Caesar had sired an heir, it was good news or gospel. When he was coming to your city, it was good news. And remember, the gospel, that good news, always demands a response. You are to rejoice that it's Caesar's birthday. You are to rejoice that he's had a male heir. You are to rejoice and get your city ready when he's coming. Those are all good news. And so, God uses that term, this regal term of royal announcement. In the case of Jesus, this good news comes, and it's news of great joy. The next thing that's interesting is that he says, "For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior who is" what? Christ the Lord. Now that is kingdoms in conflict. It begs the question, who is Lord? Is Caesar Lord or is Jesus Lord? Well, you know the answer to that. But at this stage, it's brand new. And so, remember, kingdoms in conflict. And what did we learn in prior lessons in chapter 1, verse 32 and 33? Gabriel says to Mary that, and I'll just read it to you quickly. He says that he will be great, meaning Jesus, and will be called the Son of the Most High, and importantly, that God will give to him the throne of his father David. So Jesus is born a king. He's a princeling, so to speak. And so this is very important. as we think about this birth of the king, it then raises a question as to what kind of king is born in this manner, which is something we will take up next time.